going in the interest of time. Welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sapna Shah. I'm the founder of RetailX and an angel investor. I'm very excited about today's session. It actually came from the RetailX community. I think a lot of people reached out to me and to others in the RetailX community about equity crowdfunding, specifically on the Republic platform, which has been getting a lot of buzz recently. I didn't have a lot of good answers. So here we are today, talking to a founder who has done it, which is sort of the best source of information. A couple housekeeping items. This call is being recorded. If you have to leave early or you want to look at, listen to it again or see it again, it'll be on the RetailX YouTube channel within the next couple of days. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to them at the end, if not before the end. We don't have a huge group today, so if you want to put your camera on when you're asking your question, that is great. And especially if there's a back and forth. This is a little more informal than our normal sessions that have a lot of people. And with that, I will welcome Kobi. Kobi, welcome again to RetailX. And tell us a little bit about Visuwall to start with and introduce yourself, and then we'll get going.
I sure will. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everyone. I appreciate you having me, Sapna, and organizing. This is really cool. It's always good to see you guys. Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm looking at something. I started Visuwall in 2015. And decided to do, I was bootstrapping. I decided to do a raise a little bit tougher for a brand new company in the beginning in like 2017, 2018. I did a pitch, and this is the part of the journey that I wanted to share with you guys. I did a pitch at Black Women Talk Tech, which is a great organization that kind of puts women and women of color in the forefront of, you know, the tech world. And I was able to kind of share what Visuwall does, which is, it's basically a computer vision enabled business marketplace where commercial real estate operators and global lifestyle brands meet and monetize vacancies throughout every major city that you're looking at. Currently, we're in New York and Los Angeles, and now Detroit, which is exciting. And we monetize with advertising dollars and advertising in general. So very happy to be here. Happy to go over any more detail about my company, but I know you guys are more interested about the Republic process.
So let's start.
I'm gonna also share that, you know, the Black Women Talk Tech experience was, you know, great to be able to get the exposure. That is also where I met the lead at the time named Chuck Pettit, who is the president at Republic. He was on the panel that allowed me to win.
That's great. So tell us about it. So how you met him, how did you start that crowdfunding journey? First, why did you even decide to go with equity crowdfunding versus kind of going out to angels and VCs? Or I know you kind of did a little bit of both. And then why Republic?
Yeah, so in the beginning, when I first heard about Republic, it was literally because the gentleman, Chuck Pettit, was sitting on the panel at this presentation that I made. I didn't know much about crowdfunding at all. And frankly, I kind of put it at bay because it was too difficult as a founder who's managing many things to take the time to understand the process. And so I did a little bit of a pre-seed. I went to friends and family, didn't have many of those that had money to invest. So I had to kind of go the angel route circuit. I was able to do, you know, a $550,000 pre-seed round, which was great for us at that time. And I wanted to do a little bit more. And I used Republic for basically an opportunity to market, right? Like I said, if I could get me as a founder, if I can establish six figures by using a crowdfunding campaign, that will help me achieve my goal. And I can share what we're doing to the world. And I don't have to be so quiet and insular about it. I can actually use this platform to kind of share our technology and get the exposure that otherwise would take me several months to do, you know?
And so you said you were going to go down this path. You were looking to raise at least six figures. How did it work? How did you start? You know, what were the steps that you took? What were some of the hard things and some of the things that maybe were not so hard or things you weren't expecting?
Yeah, so the one thing about learning about the Republic campaign. And the reason why Republic was so great is they're very transparent in the process. So for those of us who are creating a business and know that, right, like we're very hunkered and focused on building our own business, but we also have to think about, with a Republic campaign, the SEC filings. And I had never researched any of that stuff prior. You know, you're doing angel investing, you don't really have to do that right now. You're kind of just thinking more about, I need money, let me figure this out. But the Republic campaign was, the team there especially did their outreach. They did a lot of, you know, preparing any founder going into the process, right? So if you start to ask questions about how the process works, they're very willing to share, like, this is what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to read through the SEC filings and how that affects you. But it also helps you as a business or a founder for your business to kind of tee everything up so that your process is pretty buttoned up when you're going out for additional rounds of funding. So if you've already established the alignment and foundational structures that are required for SEC filings, you're going to be pretty good for ongoing raises and for the establishment of future stuff. So it was a really great platform to learn this process in. But I will tell you that the general process is you start to talk to people at Republic. You then start to gather this info. Mind you, you're still running your business. You're a little overwhelmed. Then they start to say, you know, you're going to have to come up with your marketing strategy. And the thing that they do is every Republic campaign, if you were to go to that platform, you'll see like an entire page about that business that details who the founder is, what they're about, what their opportunity is, how their structure, you know, their business model is. And so all of those things are detailed in a format that is consistent with everything you need to know as a founder anyway. And then it goes live, and then it's your job as a founder to market that you have a page, to bring people to it, so you bring it out there and you let them know how it goes. There's a lot of people who may or may not understand crowdfunding in general. And so you're really kind of bringing them, you're educating them, and you're educating people about their business and about crowdfunding at the same time. So it's a little bit of a mix, and it's not uncomplicated, but it is something that requires some focus.
So you actually just talked about the fact that you had this marketing one pager, and then you had to go out to all these people, everybody you knew essentially. But isn't that really what the platform is supposed to do? Introduce you to lots of people who could potentially be interested in Visuwall.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is something that Republic's actually really great at. They have their own platforms, right? There's their Twitter page, their Facebook page. They do a lot of cross marketing for all of their companies. They have like baseline opportunities that founders can take advantage of. And it's important for you to pay attention to that, because you might miss, you know, an email or that opportunity. And you'll be like, how come I'm not on the Facebook page? But you really should take advantage of those. They have a network of over 750,000 investors that might have $100 for you, you know, so go and get it, you know, and make sure that you're presenting it in a very digestible way. And that's kind of the way to go. There's also, there's a couple of other initiatives that they've since established that I don't remember seeing when I was there. They might have been there, but like I said, things get blurry. There's the Venture Partner Network. There's also, for people who have been through the process, there's accredited investors, that you can start to meet, that have been on the platform, that may or may not be interested in continuing on with another crowd fund, but maybe invest in you directly. So it's good to kind of have access to all of those things, and really use that time while you're raising to get to know that community.
So before we go a little further, Maria's put some questions in the chat, and I kind of want to hit one of them first, which is, did you compare Republic to other equity crowdfunding sites like a Seed Invest? Or did you just choose Republic because you had met the president?
I'm going to be honest, I chose it because I had met them. Looking at other platforms though, at the same time, because I had friends who were actually raising simultaneously on other platforms. I think there was, what is it called? Something Engine, Seed Engine. There's a couple of other.
Yeah.
right? There's a couple of other interesting platforms that can certainly drive, focus. I think what I liked most about Republic was their real strong focus on validation and credibility across, the SEC filings and, transparency and saying, hey, you're going to need to do X before you raise, meaning like you're going to have to file certain documents before you raise, make sure you have all of that in tow. Whereas in other platforms, I'm sure they do it, but I just wasn't privy to it. You know what I mean? I didn't understand all those other things. So
Yeah.
I do know a lot of people in those who have been raising on other platforms though. And I think that there's definitely a community of us who have said, okay, some people have raised like $1 million on these platforms, and they certainly have spent, they know the need to market and to focus on their campaign for a steady duration of, time. So I can't speak to those other platforms that well though.
So you just mentioned time though. So how long did this take kind of start to finish from that beginning, as meeting them, the SEC filings, doing the one pager, getting the word out, to actually finishing your raise on Republic? How long did that take?
I think in total about 8 months.
That's a long time.
Me meeting, it's a long time, but I'll tell you the way it went. Me meeting them, putting it on ice for a while in my mind, getting onboarded, which took about the biggest chunk of time, I think about 4 months, because you're reading and you're learning and you have to isolate, your focus on that filing process. You can absolutely get people to help you with it. I didn't have those resources to really, spend on lawyers to kind of help me read through 5 different types of documents. One lawyer inexpensively helped me manage that process. And to be honest, they had not done a lot of crowdfunding insights, information or research before. So that is now very streamlined. And I think it's down to like 2 months, assuming you have everything already organized. And then the campaign itself, 3 months. I think I went mid-January to the end of March.
Got it. And a question from Maria, which I think is relevant right now. Republic has said that in general, over 50% of the final raise comes from their network, i.e. if the total raise is 500 and about half comes from them. Was that your experience?
Yes. And that network is that investor pool, right? That 750,000 people that are out there. And I don't know if it was that many people back then. I don't think so. I think it was more like in the 200,000 range. They have grown exponentially since. And yes, their investors are very active.
Great. So what were the things that you found difficult in terms of first of all, the timing seems like a little long, but what were the things that were the most difficult about Republic, where you might have thought like, I wasn't expecting this, and this is actually much more effort than I thought it was going to be? Or was it the whole thing?
The whole thing was a beast. No, I think, the marketing was fun, but I'm a marketer, so it's a little bit different, I think, for me. But the getting onboarded it takes focus. You know what I mean? And I say that graciously because the onboarding process requires you to have your documents in a row. You think you have a lot going on as a good founder, if you're a legit, a solid founder, you have a lot of your documents in a folder somewhere. I definitely did. But I also found that it was difficult to, understand what they were talking about in some instances. There were some issues with me and, learning about what happens if I go over the time. Like I didn't know if there were certain penalties if I took too long to do something. And it made me stop. If I was like, well, I don't have time for this, let's just stop and let's just do something else. They were like, no, just keep going, right? Like think it through. But I had to be handheld quite a bit. I think Chuck and all the folks over at Republic know that about me. And luckily we had a good rapport, but at the same time, it took a lot of focus to make sure that the legal aspects of getting set up, I understood them well enough to be able to, move forward.
So would your advice be that if you were a founder going out to do equity crowdfunding, that your attorney should have experience with this? Would that have made it faster for you?
I think so. Yes, I think so. And then also, I think also Republic has really streamlined the process so that it's more easy for founders to digest, right? Like we're founders of our business. We don't necessarily know what crowdfund that business, right? So it as a founder though, you should absolutely understand what those processes are. And you should also understand all those steps. You know, you sometimes you put it off because you don't have to do it, but you should spend that time, and your attorney should have some fluency in crowdfunding just so that they know what documents, what procedures need to be in place.
And how does Republic get paid out of your raise?
So they take a commission, if I'm not mistaken, on, and I should probably pull in Piali or Sandra for that. These folks are at Republic. They get a small commission. I think it's like 5% of your raise. Might be 6.
Okay. Yeah, that's something we can Google verify, I'm sure. Okay, I want to go back to some of these questions. The next one again is from Maria. You mentioned having raised a pre-seed round before doing Republic. Do you think it's okay to start from zero, or is it better to have buy-in from other people first, and other investors, I guess, before going to Republic?
I would try to have some traction. They're going to ask in your Republic campaign, you're going to need to state your history, right? Your traction on the business. Republic is also really good about advising you. So if you are at 0 and you haven't developed any product and you haven't developed any revenue, it might be challenging to get approved to get on the platform. So one thing I probably forgot to mention is that Republic does have a great way of saying, okay, this company is ready, right? They want to make sure that companies succeed. And if you don't have certain things that are milestones that can help you succeed, they would advise you to wait. Does that answer your question, Maria? Hi, Maria. I know we were emailing.
And Maria, your situation's a little bit different because you've had an ongoing business for a long time. But you haven't really you've raised a lot of debt, but not equity. So I think that might be a very specific question the Republic might need to answer for you to see if you.
Okay, right.
Okay. The next question. Oh, you mentioned that you onboarded first and then you started raising in January and you finished by end of March. So the question from Elias is, how do you factor in seasonality with a raise at Republic? Is January to March a good time? Is there a better time?
Oh, I can't answer that. I think that's up to you and your business, right? I think the one thing that's really great to be able to launch a campaign on Republic is any kind of announcement you can say, right? Like if you have something a milestone that you've reached that you can tout as a founder, like, hey, I was able to get a new how many X number of customers. That's great, because the investors, you have to think about how even if you were pitching to angels, they want to know what they're getting into. They want to understand, like, does this person actually have movement every day? And I want to ride that wave with them. So I would say that the seasonality is based on your company. If you can use some announcements that you have going on to market your campaign, that's huge.
Yeah, I gotta echo that. Like that, I think it's the same if you're raising from angels or VCs. Like, go raise when you know good news is coming and when the trajectory is going like this. Don't raise when like you've run out of money and like the trajectory is going this way.
Right. But I will say this, because of the onboarding process, right? Sometimes you might find that you have a little trouble and it might take you a while. So your plans might be different than what you can actually achieve. But that said, the good thing is, like, back to that team, Republic is really good about helping you assess where you are and being able to say, okay, you're going to need to do this before you get up. So you won't be trying to do something completely on your own on a marketplace type format. You can actually talk to people and find out what you need to do to see if it's a good time for you.
So let me ask you a question. So a lot of times, certainly I heard, we had seed invest at a Retail X session sometime during COVID. It could have been March, could have been June. I don't remember anymore, but
it's all running together.
It's all like one big blur to me. But one of the things that they talk about, maybe their name is Seed Invest. So, they were much more at seed versus pre-seed, or, they definitely encourage that level of traction. You were really pre-seed. Was that the norm for Republic, or was that something that kind of made the process longer, or were they kind of assessing your readiness because maybe you weren't at seed yet?
No, I think they do this with everybody in general, right? Like, because there's some people who literally use a crowdfunding for a bridge. They can use
Mm.
crowdfunding to contribute to their A, I think their A even, but I think it's best suited, and this is just anecdotally, this is definitely not like process, but like anecdotally, it's great for early stage companies, right? Because you're able to get ramp up and like bring your community in and really have them be a part of your journey. And by the time you're an A or B, and don't let me discredit Republic's ability to help you in those areas, but by the time you're on those phase, you're kind of moving in a different pace, right? You're kind of focusing on different things and milestones for your company. So again, I'm not saying that exclusively, but I think that it's safe to say that during your early stage of your business, it's best suited.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding is best suited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maria asked another question, which is, how transparent do you have to be with financials, your vision, your plans on your campaign? I understand that you need to show enough to get people to invest, but I'm a little uncomfortable with anybody, like competitors, et cetera, to see it.
You're pretty transparent. It's open, right? Like it's on the platform. And I think that in terms of your financials, you have your projections and you have your actuals, right? You're going to have a baseline and expose that on the platform on some level. I think in this case, Maria, I would encourage you to talk to the Republic campaign to see where they are about what numbers you have to divulge. But I think that it's also to your favor to be able to show some traction. And if you have a dip, like everybody did this year because of the COVID, you could potentially even state that, like, this is a whole repositioning, a pivot, or a new strategy for you. And people understand that. I think the investor pool on Republic especially does.
Great. From Ellie, oh, this is a great question. Did you sell to only accredited investors, or did you go to unaccredited? I can't even speak. Unaccredited investors too. If unaccredited, will that cause any issues in a future VC preferred stock round? And did you sell stock or convertible notes? That was a lot of questions.
Well, I think I should answer it this way, because anybody who's on, are you talking about the Republic campaign? Well, I'll
Yes.
answer this as it relates to Republic. So any investors that are on the Republic crowdfunding platform, they have been vetted as well. So, but if they are able financially and are considered accredited, that basically means that I think you're making 200,000 a year as an individual, or 300,000 as a married couple or something. And the investors also have to be pre-vetted, and they have their own profile to be able to invest in a company on the platform. So you're kind of covered in that space. The thing that you have to think about for your cap table is, for us, in the beginning, and I will tell you, when I was doing this 2 years ago, you start to see 300 people coming in on your campaign. And at that time, there were other investors who were looking and they're like, I don't want 300 people on my cap table, but it's not. It's one line on your cap table. They all have the same terms. Yes, there are different people who are benefiting and ultimately have shares, but it's one line on the cap table. And so that's another thing that I was educating people on, right, as a founder, and what you may have to do as well. And it becomes a bit of a conversation with some angels who may or may not like or prefer crowdfunding, right? And that's kind of just a thing. I've had that before, but I have also had that, I had that happen with an angel group before that ended up changing their mind about crowdfunding altogether, because they were missing out on some great companies because they thought that it was an issue for them to participate in a round.
I think there has been, at least from what I've heard from angels and VCs, at least in my network, I think there is more. Maybe 2 years ago, there was a little less openness to crowdfunding being on
Yeah,
somebody's cap table.
yeah.
But now I think it is getting more and more part of like the normal course of business. And people are feeling like, yeah, this is just, yeah, you should absolutely do that. It's just a different kind of way to market yourself, for example. And certainly, this is not necessarily you, Kobi, but like certainly for direct consumer companies, um, crowdfunding is getting even more popular. So
it's
I
great.
think
It's
it's changing.
great. Yeah, I think absolutely you're right. It's changing. There even, I've been on a couple of panels where we're talking about, changing some of the formalities in SEC funding because the criteria was low. Like it would exclude a lot of people who have some money, right? But they may, what if you have $1,000 and you want to invest in the next Uber? But because of other criteria that the SEC has, it might preclude a family member or somebody from participating. So crowdfunding is a great way to allow people that otherwise might not have access to tech startups to participate in, the community in investing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, from Maria, how much are you expected to communicate with your investors during and after the campaign? So if people are investing $500 or $1,000, it seems like a lot of people you have to keep track of. And is it like Kickstarter where you give updates throughout the campaign?
You can do both. I found that in the beginning, there's some investors who ask questions before they invest. And as a founder, you kind of are, yeah, I want to answer that. So you kind of put that out there and you answer those questions on the platform. But if you find that there's several people asking you the same question, maybe just send an update and post an update. And then that way it's there for everybody to read it. And maybe it's also something that you need to think about in your presentation of the company that you should address, right? It's an opportunity for you to be able to say, I have more info for you, and here's where we are. So the engagement of you as a founder with the investors is important, right? You may not have the same kind of one-on-one as sitting with a Sapna and saying, hey, I want to pitch you and, let's have this exchange. It's all through the platform, right? So they're giving up their $1,000 or $500. They just want to know who you are a little bit and have that opportunity to have that exchange. And, you kind of got to be open with that. And it's not that much, actually. If you're focusing on the marketing, this is just part of marketing. So it's a mindset.
And so what about after the campaign? Are you communicating with these investors in the same way? Like, are you sending investor updates to them the same way you do to other investors, or is it something different?
No, I do. I send investor updates. It might be a little bit skinnier, right? Because some of my investors we're very connected, and I give them a lot of details about the day-to-day. So I don't necessarily send that kind of info on the platform, but I will post an update on Republic even to this day. Like, hey, you guys, I know the COVID, I hope everybody's okay. Here's where we are, taking good care of your money, just that kind of vibe. And it's great to stay in touch with them because you know what? There's a lot of those investors that are interested in your company because they might have expertise in that company, and they'll share with you what they know is going on. And it's just an opportunity, again, to kind of stay connected with people. And I would encourage it, frankly.
Great. From David, are the terms you offered the same terms you offered standard angel investors, or on Republic, were you able to offer less equity for the same raise amount? Like, did you change the valuation or the terms?
I didn't change it. You had the opportunity to set it, but I kept it the same.
Why did you keep it the same?
Because it's a pre-seed for me, was a pre-seed for me. And I felt like if I'm going to offer it to the community, it's no harm for me to be able to say, oh, and by the way, the instrument is a crowd safe. So it's a crowd safe instrument. So if you're offering a safe, it aligns perfectly. And it's just adding to that. It helps with your cap table to actually keep it the same, in my opinion.
That is also my opinion. My opinion is to not have too many different valuation terms at the early stages on different vehicles, because the conversion is insanity when it actually converts. And you don't realize what the dilution looks like unless you have a very good lawyer who's been telling you the whole time. So
that's right.
I double down on that. Kobi, you and I have talked about this a lot of times.
We have talked about this. Yes, we have. Yes.
Okay, so what are the other benefits to kind of choosing Republic that maybe at the time you didn't think of, but since your raise that have been beneficial to you, besides the money, obviously?
No, I will say that the best part about the process is after the raise, frankly. I've stayed in touch with the people at Republic who at that, they're a startup too, right? They're growing exponentially. The community is fantastic. The venture partner group is run by a woman named Cheryl Campos. She's awesome, you know, Harvard Business School, that kind of person. Like, she just knows people and is super connected and will, you know, bring you in on conversations. You know, you might be invited to panels if you have expertise on marketing or retail or manufacturing or whatever your business is. And it's great to kind of stay connected. And as long as you have time, you'll find that as the business grows and evolves on the Republic side, they think of you to say, hey, you know what, this is a great opportunity for so-and-so to come on and talk about their experience. And then, you know, it's just kind of an ongoing relationship. They to be mindful of what I'm saying. It's not like they can show favoritism, but they can certainly, you know, say this group of people and these founders are great people to give more exposure to what we're doing and also for them, you know, for their own use. I had participated in Meet the Drapers because of Republic. I've been on panels. I can't think of how I was on Fox News because of Republic. And these are all great, you know, press is press. So it's an opportunity that I think is invaluable. And then not for nothing, the venture group that has been formed is there. That network is very expansive and can help you as well.
Amazing. A question from Elias. Did you do all the marketing for your crowdfunding raise in-house, or did you outsource it at all? And what forms of marketing made your raise a success? Actually, this is a really good question, and I should have actually asked it earlier on, but the more detail you could give here, Kobi, the better, I think.
Yeah, no, I did all the marketing myself, literally myself. I did hire someone to help me develop content for social media. I use social media only. I know some other founders have used agencies that help them, you know, with that machine of being able to send content on a regular basis, updating people regularly. And I didn't have the money, or I didn't want to spend the money on that. I wanted to use the money that I had on my product development. So you could do that. But I also think that from a marketing perspective, it's nice if a founder does it. It actually makes it very organic, and it sounds different when you're the one talking about your business. And at the end of the day, when you are the one talking about it, you are establishing brand equity for your business. So if you're the one who's using certain words all the time, you know, an agency may not capture that. On the other hand, if you're not a marketing person and you need an agency to help cultivate those talking points, I think it's completely fine. I just think it's money that you can retain, right? You're raising money. So depending on the stage of your business, you might want to just allocate your resources accordingly.
And when you say social media, so which social media were the most successful for you?
Facebook. I actually don't love Facebook personally, but it's actually a great medium because it's shareable, right? All of your friends from high school on could be on that platform. But I also use Twitter, and I also found LinkedIn very helpful. I'm a B2B company, so it was actually really good for me. If you are, you know, more of a consumer company, you might want to use Instagram, which you can help to publicize not just your campaign, but your product itself. And I liked Instagram a lot. It took a little bit more for me as a B2B company to kind of come up with imagery and content for Instagram. But I have my two largest followings are on Facebook and Instagram, curiously.
So when you were kind of pushing out these marketing posts, like how often would you be on social media talking about Republic on any of those, or was it a different cadence on Facebook than on Twitter than on LinkedIn?
It's a good question. So I started using tools like, what is it called? I have to look at my phone. I started using social media tools like Planoly, Buffy, and really kind of figuring out ways to put one piece of content out and it would go 4 different directions, which was helpful for me. And I would recommend that if you can use those kinds of tools to help you just be more efficient. So that is something that over the first month, I probably spent more time than I needed to creating content and figuring out how to just, you know, customize for every platform. And then across that month, I got someone to help me figure out how to format things faster. And, you know, not for nothing, that platform Canva is really great to be able to help you create content that, you can share directly from Canva even.
Yeah. And so was all of that organic? Were you just organically posting, or were you also doing paid ads on social?
I did organic majority. I think I probably did a little bit of paid to see how it would do because I was testing it as a business as well, but I didn't focus on paid.
Got it. And
Yeah.
then was there anything else that you did that was maybe not on social that fit into the marketing bucket of getting the word out to kind of everybody you knew?
I sent emails, direct emails to people that I was targeting for investment. I did things that is very out of character for me. I was like, hey, will you invest in my company using this? And if not you, do you know anybody who's interested? And that is not a comfortable thing to do at all because it makes you feel a little vulnerable. You can get a lot of no's really fast and you don't need to hear that every day as a founder, but it's the only way to kind of, stick your neck out there and really get people to say, I want to be a part of this. I want to learn more about what she's doing. I want to learn more about what crowdfunding is. And you'll find that people start asking you about A, what it means to crowdfund, B, they're asking you about your company. So I wouldn't be shy about sending out emails strategically and, kind of blasting it as well. And then also I did a lot, like I said, I got out there and started doing a lot of press and panels to kind of give myself exposure. And I think that's about it. My goal was to really focus on, that 6-figure mark for me. I knew that after a certain date, I needed to focus on sales, but it was really, my own efforts across social media and emails that got me to that mark.
Yeah. And then did you do anything that was anything more that was like more like a blog post or anything like that, or Medium posts, anything like that? More like written content versus long form content, I guess, versus like tweets?
Yeah, no, I actually didn't. I didn't. And I found that some that really become experts, like I have a buddy named Harold Hughes. He did a crowdfund on Republic as well. I have another friend named Dawn Dixon who did one, I think, on Startup Engine or Start Engine. They became kind of like the talking heads at the same time when I was doing my campaign. And I think that you can learn from those processes, right? It does take a lot of energy to focus on blog posts and that kind of thing. I didn't, because I had the benefit of being able to generate revenue at the same time. And I had to kind of focus on running the business also.
Yeah. How many backers
Yeah.
did you ultimately end up with for your crowdfunding campaign?
I think I got 202.
Oh, and were they evenly spread throughout the 3 months of crowdfunding, or was it more front end loaded, back end loaded? Like, is that a thing in Republic? Like maybe it's all at the end always, or I don't.
No. Well, I will say, okay, when you first come out, you'll see a slow draw. People are looking at it. The great part is they provide analytics for you as a founder. So you go into your format, you can see the performance of your campaign by just clicking, by views, by if they finish, if they ask the whole bit. It's actually really great. There are definitely peaks when you post. So when you post something and people see it, you will see spikes. That's why the marketing is so important. And then I messed around and got on Fox News, and that drove a lot of traffic to my platform. And then at the end, I also kind of started marketing out 10 more days, 9 more days, 8 more days. And it creates a frenzy, just like in VC as well. It just kind of creates a frenzy of people saying, oh no, I want to be a part of it. And they'll do at least the minimum because it's not a heavy hit, in terms of the amount that they can afford. And they know that the opportunity is almost over.
Right. And do you set the minimum, or is there a minimum overall that is the minimum for Republic?
Yeah, you set the minimum yourself. So say for instance, you know that the maximum that you can raise is $1 million, right? $1 million, what is it? $1,750,000 or something like that. That's the maximum you can do. Then the minimum, you set that. You can say the minimum is $20,000. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you meet that, you've succeeded in your campaign. And then anything over that is a multiple of it. And that's also an interesting metric that Republic kind of uses to say, okay, we've met that campaign. It's successful 3 and 4. So if you set it at 20,000 and you make 100,000, you've exceeded your, you've created a 5 times goal, right? You've exceeded your goal by 5 times. And so that's an interesting way to kind of, create a story. But your goal is, what your personal goal is, but you set the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's usually something that's achievable. Yeah.
And do you set the minimum on a per person basis? So I won't take less than, doing less than 1,000, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the people that when I was doing my raise at that time, my people that were also raising, they set their minimums at like $25 or $50. I set my minimum at $250. Mm-hmm. And I think that Republic was like, why are you spending so much? I was like, I think it's fine. I will see, watch. And it turned out to be fine. And you'll realize that there are some people that actually won't pay $250 to invest. They feel like maybe they wanted to spend their $250 across 5 companies or something like that. Totally get it. You might lose a few, but for those that come on, you'll find that if they can afford $250, they might spend 1,000. So that's on you. That's on you and how you want to target it. And some people like to make it super accessible for anybody, a kid if they want. Well, you can't be a kid because I think there's a limit of 18 years old or something like that. But, you can have as low as $10 or $20 if you want to.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So my last question, and if anyone else has any questions, please put them in the chat. But my last question is kind of, you've talked about a lot of different elements of crowdfunding here, particularly with in regards to the Republic platform. But if you could give one piece of advice, like what's the most important thing you've either said or maybe haven't said yet about any founder who's going out to vet the Republic platform and see if it's for them, what piece of advice would you give them?
I would say be prepared to be a lot more open than you usually are. Curiously, I'm actually quite introverted. Like it may not seem like it right now, but I'm very scared sometimes to share what I'm doing, especially in the beginning. And this is kind of like a reference to the earlier question. I don't mind sharing the business at all now, right? Like no idea is completely unique. You got to be open with it in order to get people to buy into it. And so be prepared to get your mind wrapped around that. And then also be open to exchanges, right? There's going to be people who try to poke holes in it, who know nothing about your business, and they're going to try to poke holes in it. And you just have to say, it's okay. You know what I mean? You can't get agitated and, respond with a snarky comment because that's not going to help you. Everyone will see it. But if you could manage the answer, you'll find that a lot of those people will convert. And so it's kind of a process. If you're going to do it, just surrender to the work of communicating with people outside of your own personal realm.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that might be really good advice for any kind of raise that you might be thinking of doing.
True.
Snarky doesn't help. Be open. So that is all the questions I have. Does anyone, there's only about 20 of us here. So honestly, if anybody has any other questions, you don't even have to put them in the chat. You can just turn on your mic and we'd be happy. We have a few more minutes. If there are any last minute burning questions, we're happy to have them. In the meantime, let me tell everyone that we have 3 more sessions coming up. October 8th on early stage customer acquisition. October 22nd is building a curated marketplace, and October 29th is fundraising with an angel, fundraising 101 with an angel, Erica Minahan, who will be amazing. So look for those on retailxseries.com. I hope to see you at all of those. Thank you.
So you guys know.
Yeah, go ahead, Kobi.
I just wanted to share that I posted a few contacts there. Sandra and Piali are really great partners at Republic. And if you have any questions about the platform, you can feel free to hit them up. They told me to, if they wanted to, they're expecting any questions from this forum. So happy to share that.
Amazing. Yes, go ahead. Lauren.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for this. This is very helpful.
Sure.
There is another platform out there that has the idea or concept of a lead investor, which is an investor who basically gets a carry of the thing. Does Republic have something like that? Or if so, did you use that?
I do not know the answer to that. That's really cool though. I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if I would use it if they had it, because I think the whole notion of a crowd is to let everybody in. I don't know what the mechanic is on that lead concept, but sounds really cool.
Okay,
Does that answer?
Yeah, that helps. I guess the mechanic of it is that obviously it's a single purpose vehicle where all the funds go into, and that the lead investor has to be somebody who puts in a sufficient amount of money. But in our case, interest to us, because that particular lead investor that we've identified, we haven't started any of the crowdfunding. They are well known in the industry that we're in. And so they can help us market and promote this. So the fact that their name is on this is beneficial to the fundraising. So it's not just us trying to pitch to this group. It's somebody within this core group that's well known that gets a bit of a kicker for their investment. So.
Got it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that might be part of the ramp with the accredited investors on Republic, but I can't say that I know if they have that already rolled out.
Okay, I'll have to research it. So thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
No
worries.
Any other last minute burning of questions? Oh, I have one from Rashida. Kobi, can you please send the 2 apps you mentioned that help with sharing social media content over different platforms? I think you mentioned Buffy,
Oh,
Canva,
Planoly.
Planoly, yeah.
Oh, and Canva. And I think Buffy. Buffy? Is it Buffy? Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, that's all in the chat. Cool. Anything else before we wrap up? All right. Well, Kobi, thank you once again. You were wonderful.
Thanks,
your second time doing one of these virtual Retail X's, and once again, amazing. So appreciate you coming on. I thank you to everybody who came today, and I hope to see you at the future Retail X sessions. Bye.
Thanks, you guys. Good luck with everything.